We have gathered here for the second session of the Adbhut Bharat celebrations, an international webinar series. And we had very good response to the first session that we had on October 9th. And we were fortunate that it was inaugurated by none other than His Excellency Honourable Ambassador of India to France, Mr. Jawad Ashraf. And so we are continuing the series with our second session today. So with salutations to the Almighty and to our Guru, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, who has been behind us every venture. I now request Ms. Kirtana, our intern, to render the prayer song as an auspicious invocation to God.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaskaram to everyone. I'll be rendering a song on Lord Ganesha. It's a Tamil Tiruppugal. Kaitala nirai kani appamodavil pori Kappiya karimugan adipeni Katridum adiyavar buddhiyil uraibavar Karpagam yanavinai kadite yegum Mattamum madiyamum வைத்திடும் மரண்மகன் மற்பொரு திரள்புய மதயானை மத்தளவயிரனை உத்தமி புதல்வனை மட்டவிழ் மலர் கொடு பணிவேனே முத்தமிழடைவினை முற்படுகிறதனில் பட எழுதிய முதல்வோனே முப்புறம் ஏறி செய்த அச்சிவல் உரைரதம் அச்சது பொழி செய்த அதிதீரா அத்துயரது கொடு சுப்பிரமணி படு புனம் அதனிடை இவமாகி அக்குயரது கொடு சுப்பிரமணி படும் அக்கணம் மனமருள் பெருமாளே மட்டவிழ் மலர் கொடு பணிவோமே பணிவோமே பணிவோம். Thank you.
Thank you, Kirtana, for that rendition. I now request Dr. Malini Ranganathan to give the welcome address and to also give us an idea as to who are the guests who are gracing the occasion today and other dignitaries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rajshree Vasudevan. I'm going to present to you the idea behind the ABC series. First of all, namaste, bonjour. I would like to begin by extending a very warm welcome to all the guests and take this opportunity of especially thanking the guests present today, the dignitaries, for our unique Indo-French collaborative series, Adbhut Bharat Celebrations, an educative exploration of Indian cultural ethos under the high patronage of Embassy of India in France on the occasion of Amrit Mahotsav, showcasing the Indian cultural heritage and the soft skills covering different domains. It is indeed a privilege and an honor to have the most distinguished representative of our country in France, His Excellence Shri Jawad Ashraf, Ambassador of India to France and Monaco, to have inaugurated this ABC series. I'm overwhelmed by the patronage and the support extended to us by the Embassy of India, Paris, the ICCR, Ministry of External Affairs, and the Ministry of Culture. On this occasion, I welcome Shri Naman Upadhyaya, Second Secretary, Press, Information and Culture, also, and I extend my sincere thanks to him for his constant help and guidance. Now I welcome our honorable guest speakers, Shri K.V. Rao, President of Singapore Fine Arts Society, Shri Sandeep Verdi Obe, Artistic Director, Darbar Festival UK, and Shri Surinder Chowdhury, Director, Basant, Bahar, San Francisco, USA. I'm indeed extremely grateful to all these three guests to have accepted my invitation to share their valued experience with their remarkable cultural institutions, which in spite of being situated in different parts of the world, function with a common mission of promoting Indian arts and culture. I'm happy to collaborate with Center of Excellence Art and Culture from Sri Shankar Lal Sundarbhai Shasun Jain College for Women. And I thank Secretary Sri Shri Shrimal Jain for having accepted this joint venture. I now offer my deepest thanks to the Mayor of Nantes and its City Council, whose support has been primordial for me in establishing our Indo-French ties for almost 40 years. I present my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Dennis Rostan, President of Bindi, Nantes, and a non-profit Indo-French Cultural Center of Arts and dance, and its staff and students for their support and confidence in all my endeavors. I finally thank Gopio, France, for being our partner. Therefore, now I request Dr. Rajshree Vasudevan to present the concept note. Thank you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Actually, we had wanted to introduce Dr. Malini to the audience. So I think we would have a brief introduction in the form of a PPT. I request Ms. Kirtana to kindly introduce her, because there are some in the audience who are not very familiar with our collaborator. So I request Kirtana to do so, and then I will give the concept note. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Malini Ranganathan. Dr. Malini is a French national of Indian origin, and she settled in France for the past 38 years. Academically, she is a doctorate in didactics of educational sciences, highlighting the cross-cultural context from the European University, and is a research professor in international business management for MBA students at the ISG Nantes. She has created a special module of doing business in India with focus on better understanding of India and France. She's an internationally known and qualified Kathak dance exponent and has performed extensively in India, USA, Canada, Europe, and particularly in France. She is the director, founder, teacher, choreographer of Kathak at Bindi, and has trained numerous foreign students, especially French, creating a new Kathak protocol. She has built closer links between Indian diaspora, and France, being at the forefront of strengthening the France-Indian relationship. He has been honored for extraordinary cultural service and contribution for the promotion of India in France with the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award from the Honourable President of India, Shri Ramnath Kovind, in Varanasi, 2019, in the presence of Honourable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, and other dignitaries. She has received the Medal of Excellence by the French Ministry and the City Council of Nantes for contribution to Indo-French culture since 1983. She has also received the Certificate of Recognition by CID UNESCO, Paris, France. She has received the Global Achievers Award in the year 2020 in New Delhi for recognition of outstanding professional achievement and contribution in nation building. She has received the High Flyers 50 NRI Achievers Award 2021 in Mumbai, celebrating exceptional Indian achievers, and Atmanirbhar Award in the year 2021. She has also received the SIVA Award in the year 2020 in Chennai, among others. She has made several scientific publications and paper presentations in international journals and conferences in both English and French. Thank you, ma'am, and very glad to have you here.
So going on now to our concept note. I hope everybody can hear me. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yes, okay. Yes. Yeah, thank you. So, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. It is rightly said, a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Marcus Garvey. Regardless of how well we adapt to any cultural environment, we always need to remain aware of our own roots, the values and beliefs that we were brought up with, the worldview that was ingrained into us, the experiences that we had throughout our lives, and the characteristics that make us who we are. Culture is the whole complex of distinctive spiritual, material, intellectual, and emotional features that characterizes a society or a group. It includes creative expressions, community practices, and material or built forms. This is from our Creative Diversity, the UN World Commission on Culture and Development report. Hence, every country, every community is strongly tied together by an intricate tapestry of individual values, norms, and a specific history. So to understand their culture is to understand them. The pandemic has thrown the entire world out of gear. Lockdowns, though necessary, have led to negative and pessimistic mindsets. It is in these times that we have been invigorated by delving deep into our own ancient traditions, which are still relevant today. Culture is a matrix of infinite possibilities and choices. Our Indic traditions are like the proverbial tree of life, with deep roots of antiquity and a wide range in space. They have served to sustain the community in the host nations with a unique yet assimilative identity, attractive people of diverse preferences into its fold. Why an Indo-French collaboration may be the question. Both countries are ancient civilizations, yet modern nations. Hence, it is only natural that we explore the Indo-French connections from earlier till now. The plan is multi-pronged since our cultural ethos is so multi-layered. Both Bindi, representing the French side, and the Center of Excellence Art and Culture, representing the Indian side, will host experts from across the world, covering a wide gamut of art forms, both fine and performing arts, ranging from cuisine to architecture. And we have been very fortunate that our inauguration was not only by the ambassador, but we had Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Padma Bhushan Awardee, as also Professor Raftis, the presidents of the International Dance Council, with us, sharing their views and inspiring our youngsters to go forward and become intercultural ambassadors. And we are looking forward to this session where we have three very, very eminent people to address us and learn from them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajshree Vasudevan. That was really excellent concept note, but our public, our guests need to know who you are. So could I have Kirtana to please present Dr. Rajshree Vasudevan, please? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Rajshree Vasudevan, Natya Selvi Dr. Rajshree Vasudevan is a disciple of Padma Bhushan, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Chennai, and Dr. Jayshree Gopalan, Jayshree Rajagopalan, Mumbai. She is trained in Bharatnatyam, Kuchipudi, Manipuri, Carnatic music, yoga, with more than 3 decades of experience in teaching and lecturing in the fields of performing arts and aesthetics. She has performed for prestigious organizations in India, UK, USA, Canada, Mauritius, Malaysia, Singapore, and France. She is a gold medalist in academics, a doctorate in philosophy, Indian aesthetics, junior research and senior research fellow, UGC and Ministry of Culture, Government of India. She's a popular resource person for dance, Indian philosophy, culture, heritage, aesthetics, and poetry in universities in India and abroad. She has done various paper presentations and publications in national and international conferences. She has held senior academic positions in well-known institutions: Humanities in Charge School of Liberal Education, Shasun Jain College, member, Board of Studies and Examination, Dance, Universities of Madras, Trichy, Pune, Indira Gandhi National Open University, IGNOU, South India. She's the founder head of a 5-year integrated course of Natya in the University of Madras under her guru, Dr. Padma's guidance. Her article in Classical and Folk Dance of Tamil Nadu from 1600 AD to the present was published in the ABS Madras Gazette project, which was released by Honourable Governor of Tamil Nadu. The book is part of the most libraries worldwide. She has to accredit more than 350 poems and a book of poems, Remunitions, released at the 5th World Congress of Poets, San Francisco, USA. She's a co-committee member in the National Delphic Council, Tamil Nadu chapter. We're so glad to have you here, ma'am.
I now request Dr. Malini Ranganathan to kindly introduce the ambassador to our audience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajshree. The ambassador of India, I'm going to, yes, thank you. His Excellency, Mr. Jawad Ashraf, assumed charge as Ambassador of India to the Republic of France and Principality of Monaco on the 13th of July, 2020. A career diplomat, joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1991. He served in Frankfurt and Berlin from 1993 to 1999. He also worked at the Americas divisions of Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi from 1999 to 2004. He had completed a 3-year tenure as Counselor, Embassy of India at Kathmandu in 2007. He also served as a counselor and Minister of Political Affairs at the Embassy of India, Washington, D.C. from 2007 to 2010. He has headed the Americas Division of Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi from 2010 and 2012. Subsequently, he served as a joint secretary in the minister's office under former Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and then Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. Responsibilities during his tenure were numerous at the Prime Minister's office, included External Affairs, Defense, National Security Council, Atomic Energy and Space. He returned again to serve the Ministry of External Affairs in January 2016 and was a Joint Secretary for Special Projects. His Excellency served as the High Commissioner of India to the Republic of Singapore from 2016 till July 2020, and we are fortunate to have him here now. He studied economics at the St. Stephen's College in New Delhi and management at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. He has published a coffee table book on his photographs, a day in the life of Kathmandu, dedicated to the victims of Nepal earthquake of April 2015. His interests, apart from, of course, being a cultural ambassador too, are numerous, such as outdoor activities, which include tennis and trekking in the Himalayas. He's married to Dr. Ghazala Shahabuddin, an ecologist and conservation biologist. Over to you, Dr. Rajshree.
We were told that the ambassador is tied up with some other work. So we request Mr. Naman Upadhyaya, who's representing the embassy, to kindly share a few words with our audience on his behalf.
Thank you, Dr. Rajshree. And first of all, I would like to welcome and thanks all of the honorable and distinguished guests present over here to take their time out of their busy schedule and to be part of this amazing event of Adbhut Bharat celebrations. I would also like to congratulate and thank Dr. Malini Ranganathan for taking up this initiative and organizing this series, which is all encompassing, and it is, I think, one of the best initiative by some of the Indian cultural organizations present in France to come up with such innovative idea to showcase the journey of 75 years of India through covering different domains. And um, I must say that since 1980s and when she established in 1990 the Bindi Association has been working very closely with the Indian Embassy and promoting Indian performing arts and music here in France and especially in Nantes. So the journey of Bindi Association and its collaboration with Indian embassies dates back long, and I must thank her. In fact, she has been a true cultural ambassador uh, for us because often due to lack of Indian cultural center here in Paris, which is still under renovation, we were not able to organize as much events as we would love to promote Indian performing arts and culture. And that's why we rely on the associations like Bindi and other Indo-French Cultural Association to promote Indian performing arts and to showcase uh, India and the new and emerging India in France. And this task has been very efficiently done by Bindi Association and especially Dr. Malini Ranganathan, who not only as a eminent Kathak exponent is teaching and promoting Indian dances like Kathak, but she is also an educationist, and especially her contribution in UNESCO to promote Indian dances has been really commendable. And as far as our embassy is concerned and the relevance of today's topic is concerned, I must highlight only few things because I know the distinguished members who are here present today in the panel, they are much more aware and have done a lot in this domain. And especially Mr. Rao, I have heard a lot about him from our ambassador when he was in Singapore, the director of SIFAS, who has done so many things in Singapore. And in fact, I am happy to tell you that um, on 17th of November, we hosted Apsara Arts here in Paris at Theatre Oranlag, and we did a small event of Paramapadam with them, and it was very well received. So, just coming back to the topic, I would just like to say that Indian Embassy, in collaboration with different organizations, institutions, especially the cultural institutions in France, tries its best to promote the Indian culture and not only performing arts, which are well known in France and which have a very loyal audiences like Bharatnatyam or Kuchipudi or Kathakali, but also Kathak, Manipuri, and now dances like Mohiniyattam and Carnatic and Hindustani music as well. And in our efforts, I must especially mention the contribution by ICCR and especially Ministry of Culture with through a different scheme, and through us, we promote the association in a modest way we can. And I think in contemporary times, this is the opportune time that we must further encourage and promote these cultural association so that we can show the kind of diversity which India has. And next year is quite important for us because we not only celebrate the 75 years of India's independence, and not only we showcase the journey of 75 years of India in different cultural domains, but we are also celebrating 75 years of our diplomatic ties with France. So next year becomes an important year for both of our countries. And I would like to thank Bindi and Dr. Malini Ranganathan that she has taken a lot of efforts to organize events, not only this year, but she also plans to organize various events next year to showcase the deep cultural ties with India and France uh, we both enjoy. And thanks to these cultural associations and institutions, which further deepen our culture to culture and people to people ties, because I think apart from the relations between India and France at the political level, which are extremely good. Uh, the domain of culture, still there is a lot of potential which we need to tap, and I think these institutions and association, they are doing an extraordinary job to promote uh, Indian culture, arts, not only in Paris, but even in the uh, different cities across France, be it Nantes, be it Lyon, Marseille, even in small cities like Redon or Vannes, we see now there are various festivals and India days which are coming up, and many Indian artists now they are given opportunity to perform in this festival. And must say that it is all due to the efforts of all these associations and the organizations who have, I must say, dedicated their life for promotion of Indian art and culture. So I would like to thank them once again on behalf of Indian Embassy and Government of India to promote all these things which we are not able to uh, promote across everywhere in France because of our own constraints. Our outreach is very limited, and I must say that we rely on you, uh, Dr. Malini, Ranganathan, and the associations like Bindi to to support us in our endeavor. And I hope you will continue to do the kind of commendable work which you are doing in coming times. And once again, I would like to thank you and all the honorable and distinguished guests who are present over here. Uh, to come over here at this platform and share their experiences and their important thoughts and insights on this important topic, which will definitely help us a lot in further promoting the Indian art culture in a much more efficient and effective way, because uh, you are in this domain for like more than 2 or 3 decades, and there are some of the best practices which we should learn from you. And I think this is a platform which provides this kind of exchange and information for us, from where we can learn and further boost our efforts. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naman, for sharing with us also the problems that embassies face. I mean, that is something new for us as well. We thought it can be more or less a cakewalk since it's a government organization. And now we realize that it can be difficult for you as well. So thank you so much for your words. I have now a very difficult task, and that is of introducing a multifaceted person like Mr. KB Rao, a blogger, speaker, a person of many parts, you would say. He has great interest in Indian classical music. He has a master's in international business from the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, New Delhi, India, and the Distinguished Alumnus Award in 2011. He has worked in diversified industries and enterprises in leadership positions. He is the director, Singapore Civil Service with International Enterprise Singapore. Currently, the resident director, ASEAN, Tata Sons Private Limited, promoter of the Tata Group. Board member and chairman, Tata Regional Subsidiaries, specialized in international business, covering 40 countries in the developed and emerging markets with a focus on Asia. Board member of Tata International, Tata Chemicals International, TML Holdings, Qubit Investments, World One Development Company, World One Sri Lanka Projects, and Life Insurance Corporation in Singapore, amongst others. He is the chairman of Trust Energy Resources Tata Power International Singapore, chairman, president, commissioner, PT Tata Motors Indonesia, term trustee, board of trustees, SINDA, vice president, executive committee till 2021, serving SINDA Exco for over a decade, member, board of advisors, Singapore Institute of International Affairs, chairman of CII IBF till September 2021, vice chairman, South Asia Business Council, Singapore Business Federation, Apex Industry Body of Singapore, member, Board of Advisors, Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry till December 2020, and here in his position as President, Singapore Indian Fine Arts Society. That's a huge list of significant seminal positions that Mr. K.V. Rao has occupied over the years. And I think it will be very evident in the insights that he will be sharing with us today. Word to you, Mr. Rao, and thank you so much for being with us today. I know I have not done justice to your biodata, but due to paucity of time, that is what we could condense.
Thank you, Rajshree. I'll be informal because we're amongst friends today. Hi, Sandeep, Malini, Surinder, and all those who have logged in today. Thank you for a very lavish and long introduction. I'm just an old guy now, done enough things, and I love music, and that's what brings me here. And Malini, good friend, requested, so I also managed to assemble like-minded people to come together. And it's a pleasure being here and to talk to you. Bon après-midi, good afternoon to all those in Paris. It's almost getting late in night here. And I think in the US, you are in the morning, and London is midday or so. So, good. Let me share a few thoughts first. Malini gave a broad sketch of what she wanted me to do. I think I'll perhaps jump the gun to make it less boring about giving histories of what we did and what our institutions are doing. Rather focus on what we have been doing now, here and now. And I suppose we are at a very important point in time of 75 years of India. And how do we take this magical portion of Indian culture, be it in dance, be it in music, be it in culinary arts, it could have been visual arts, name it, whatever you. All of this is something very magical, which is very special, that originates from our very long history. And we are custodians of that. And I would like to share a little bit about our journey of Singapore Indian Fine Arts Society. This institution, I've been involved for 18 years because of love of music. But this is 72 years in Singapore. And the uniqueness of Singapore, I have to share, is that it is not started by India. It is not a government of India initiative, but it is by the local Indian origin people who have come here about 200 years ago. And they came from Tamil Nadu. Many of them have come from Kerala. And as migration happened, they preserved their history by building temples, and they created this temple of arts, as it were, in a small house in what is called Little India now, which has expanded and grown in 1949. A few eminent gentlemen started it to see that the girls learn dance, learn music, learn violin, which is part of a South Indian Carnatic culture. And then it grew into a very large institution today. I would like to just share a couple of slides very quickly, if you can permit me to do so. It will take me just about 15, 20 seconds, I hope, to put it up, and then we should be fine with it. Are you able to see my slides, please? Hello? Hello, can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. This logo is a very old one, 1949, and it says Kala Samskriti Lakshanam, which means basically the sign of civilization and culture is our orientation towards the arts. And this particular art characterizes civilization. And today we have about 2,000 students. And we have, sorry, it's not 85, it's 15 disciplines taught by 36 qualified teachers. So we have, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry about that. There you go. Over all these years, we have had a community and stakeholders of almost 50,000 people in Singapore who have experienced this institution in either attending shows, participating in it, or being students in it, or their alumni, and so on. So it's a very old institution, and I was told when I went to India after I assumed charge of this institution, that nowhere in the world there is an institution where you have 2,000 students, 36 teachers, and total of 46 staff and so on, which is running for so long. So we're very proud of the heritage, and we are challenged about its future. Our vision and mission is to enrich the lives and build communities through the aesthetic appreciation of arts. And we are part of something which the Singapore government operates under the National Mission for the Arts and National Arts Council, and we get a large support from them in terms of facilities and many other grants and other things. So we empower our local artists, we innovate, we contribute, and we grow both locally and regionally. And this little picture there is one of those after shows which we put together at one of our festivals. And this is exactly the core of what we do. See, we believe that it's a virtuous cycle of promoting Indian arts. Firstly, you need to get people to watch, and this is where people get inspired. Then they start appreciating what it is, and they may come to learn, which is talent development. And we then train them. And once you train, you then produce, and from production you perform, and you get more people to watch. So it sort of feeds one into the other, and this is the cycle we are in. And I would just like to share a bit about our disciplines. We are there in both Carnatic and we are in Hindustani. The academy side has got formal diplomas and degrees and so on. And we have all our artists largely are from India. We have about 15% of local Singaporeans who are also teaching full-time, part-time. They come from the best and premium institutions. This is what we do under the academy. On the production side, we've been at it for many, many years. Almost 90 performances in a year. And we've been doing a flagship event for the last 17 years. And this is what we're talking about, taking it to the next level, as it were, in 2022. We do a whole lot of in-house events. We do local and international events as well. And I think we would be reaching something like 50,000 people. And it is multi-racial, multi-generational, and it has a whole lot of international viewership. Thanks to COVID, we've gone a lot digital. So we have people who are watching our works from around the world. We went into a major digitalization. We put an app today, and most of our programs are available on the app. Currently, it's for the members, but we will open it up for as well as the world at large very soon. Since COVID started, we had about 160 digital productions. So that's quite a bit of quantity of work that we produce. We've got a whole lot of relationships, both in India and outside. And this gives me a great opportunity to say hello to a lot of our friends overseas who are doing similar work. We have formal engagements with ICCR, NCPA, Kalakshetra, University of Delhi, University of Madras, and also Madras Music Academy. Well, we're doing a lot of promotion of artists who are upcoming, both locally as well as in the region, and promoting arts groups. Well, the challenges are, we work in a multiracial society in Singapore. Singapore is about 5.6 million population, 7.5% Indians. So it's about 350,000 Indians. And we have, of course, a very large percentage of Indians who come, but we also have a small percentage of non-Indians who come, blend and learn. And what is important is how do you present and how do you sort of make non-Indians to come forward, collaborate with us. So we do a fair amount of joint works. We do some co-collaborated productions and so on. And I think one of the most important things for an institution like ours is the two pillars of academy and production, so that, it's a virtuous loop that we can deliver on. This is a little bit of our cultural part of it. And I already mentioned about collaboration and our 70 years history, a sense of belonging for Indians who are brought up here of Indian race. But what arts does is to bring them all together into a blend and better connect with each other. And I would now share a few thoughts, which I'll stop the sharing part and I will share a few thoughts of my own. This is just an introduction of the institution that we run. It's quite mammoth. Outside India, it's pretty nice. We've got a young team of 10 people. Executives are doing, very qualified young people, inspired, and would love to work with partners anywhere in the world. Now, coming to the promotion of Indian classical music, dance, and arts, we need to appreciate that we've got something very magical and something very unique. But it's very culturally aligned to people from the Indian subcontinent. And how do you get people to appreciate this? The true challenge is it's an experiential subject. It's not something that you can talk about it, or you can force feed it, or present it. People will be polite, but how do they get converted? I think I heard the word about spirituality from Rajshree when she mentioned. I think our music and dance and all forms of art have evolved from the spirit of India. And when I call spirit of India or the spirituality of India is, please distinguish it clearly from religion. It is not Hinduism alone. It is not Sikhism alone. It is not Islam alone. It is a blend of all the rivers of thoughts and spirits that have come over so many hundreds of years is what has made this magical potion I call the Indian classical music and dance. And what it does is once you get into it, it's a one-way ticket. You can't come out of it because it starts playing its magic into your consciousness, because it makes you actually realize your own soul. Now, let me give you an alliteration for promoting this. I think India has done a marvelous job of marketing one particular Indian traditional magic, and that magic is called the yoga. Today, yoga has become a global buzz. Why? Because it's healthy, it's the right thing to do, and everybody around the world is doing Yoga Day. My suggestion is we must have a classical music and arts day, we can call it whatever you like it, so that around the world, we try and bring people into it, because what the music does is, or the dance does, is it connects you with yourself. In the post-COVID world, the biggest challenge of the world is not economic. The biggest challenge the world faces today is a challenge of managing the minds of people. Mental health has become the #1 casualty. In the advanced world, stress levels are such, it's again a mental issue. What does our magic do? What it does is it really connects you back. It is either listening to this, watching it, or playing it is none other than a mode of meditation. When you play an instrument, your mind stops thinking. You cannot think. You don't have to be the best player in the world. You don't have to be the world's best dancers. But when you are dancing, you are in it. Your mind is totally silenced and it connects with your inner self. I think so. We have this unique tradition, which I suppose none others have. The whole concept of ragas, about timeliness, about managing emotions, about managing relationships, and so on is so powerful that what we need to do is we should take the mode of a restaurant and ask people to come and taste the food free. We are here to promote our music. Come, look for it, sit in once, sit in twice, and help them to understand and experience this. And I think that's the way we can bring more and more foreigners into our fold. So there's so much that can be done in the post-COVID world. I would like to not take too much time, but I'll just show you one or two little things which I thought will be inspiring and interesting to you. We have a few Chinese, and Chinese and Indian cultures are fairly different concepts. You see, one is Confucian and the other is Indian tradition. At the end of the day, the landing points may be the same, but culturally, we're very different people. But you would be very, delighted to see. I'd like to show you this little clip again, and you try to identify this lady. I just picked it up now because we have this Tyagaraja Kirtana, on the birthday of Tyagaraja, all of us sit together and then everybody sings, and try to identify this person in this, and with what devotion the lady actually is doing this. 1 minute. Are you able to see this, please?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, sorry. This does not require any more words. She is 50 plus, local Singapore-born Chinese lady who dresses like a typical South Indian. I do not know what has inspired her. Now she started going to the temples too. And she sings Carnatic Tyagaraja Kritis with absolutely the correct intonation and pronunciation, which is not so easy for someone with a very different tongue. So I think this is the magic that we can, and I'm sure it's not going to be hundreds and thousands, but at least we can firstly reach out our own community of the next generation so that they are not completely uprooted from our culture. So our natural field always will be our expatriates and Indians and those who have visited India. But I think we have a fairly large community, and I keep seeing, and I would love to hear from Sandeep, how many non-Indians come for our concerts and enjoy that. I've seen that in Singapore, I've seen that in London, I've seen that in all over the travel that I've done. I've always seen how intensely they come, how respectfully they listen to us, and how we can enable it better and how better we can present. I think technology needs to improve. Technology has opened up, and I think collaboration needs to go forward. And I think we can make the magic happen. Thank you very much. These are my brief thoughts, and I'll welcome comments later. Thanks.
That was really a very quick summary. And I think we could get an idea of not just the historical development of SIFAS, but that important aspects that you highlighted there, where the Chinese on their own could relate to our Indian music and dance, and without any compulsion become part of the entire system. I think that's what makes the Indic tradition stand out. So thank you so much, Mr. Rao, and I'm sure a lot of them have got a bird's eye view of what exactly is happening in SIFAS at Singapore. I now request Dr. Malini Ranganathan to introduce Mr. Sandeep Verdi Obe. I believe Mr. Naman is leaving, so you could also express your gratitude towards him for that.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. K.V. Rao. That was wonderful. I think we will discuss later. There's so much to do. You're making me bubble with enthusiasm. I thank, yes, Naman Upadhyay. Before I start presenting Sandeep, he had to leave. As you see, there are many things happening in France, but they have taken the time to be part of our show. And I really am very grateful to all the help and support we're getting from them. I'm a small drop in the ocean, but like you said, for Chinese people who learn or perform Indian music and dance, in France also we had the same situation. No French knows Indian dance or music from birth. So this is same transposition of culture is taking place, and I'm very happy with it. And I'm even more happy that the Indian government recognizes it. Thank you very much, Naman Upadhyay ji, and thank you, Embassy of India. So I move on to our next very distinguished guest, Shri Sandeep Verdi Obe. He was born in Nakuru, maybe I spell it wrong, in Kenya. He grew up to the sounds of his father's tabla, Shri Bhai Gurmeet Singh Virdee, and awarded by her Majesty Queen Elizabeth the Order of British Empire OBE for his services towards promoting Indian musical heritage in UK in 2017. He has established Tal Rhythms of India in 1986. He's the founder of Tabla Online 2004. On Bhai Gurmeet Singh Verdi's unfortunate demise in 2005, Sandeep organized an on-off tribute establishing the legacy Darbar Festival, which is extremely famous, not only in UK, but almost all over Europe and across the planet. It provides a platform for great masters in emerging talent from both the UK and abroad. This festival presents key genre of Indian classical music, both Hindustani and Carnatic, Dhrupad and percussions. The Darbar, the digital Darbar concert hall is bringing Indian music audiences. So COVID obviously is has been a big issue for the world, but it has been I would say a very useful moment also for us to connect digitally and reach across the world with our art and culture. So thank you so much for being here. Sandeep Verdi ji, please tell us more about all that you want to connect with us and art and culture. Thank you.
Namaste ji to everyone, and Malini, thank you very much for that introduction. I feel I'm the baby in the group, sandwiched between two very eminent directors, KVG and Surinder ji as well. And so we are also, I guess, in a way, the baby organization in this group. So what I'll do is I'll share my thoughts with you. So like you said already, life was there before Darbar. I was looking after Tal Rhythms of India when I was a student, which was inspired by Dharamveer Singh, who was a sitar player who came to the UK, and he was a student of Ustad Vilayat Khan. And basically, I wanted to listen to a lot of tabla solos, and I used to sort of moan to him that there's not enough tabla going on. And then he said to me, there's my computer, go and set up your own organization, get your funding, and then get on with it. You know, best help is self-help, he said. So that was my introduction to organizing music in the UK. That was based in Leicester, a small town in the middle of England. And my father was a tabla teacher. He was a peripatetic teacher, and he would go around and teach at different schools. And he, over the years, in the 30 years that we lived in the UK, he has taught hundreds and hundreds of students. And he was just one of those really inspirational human beings. Wherever you went, whether you were at a wedding, any function, he'd be just chased around by his students, and you know, he'd be sort of passing them his knowledge. And he was a practicing Gursikh, so he was very much in his faith, and the power of Kirtan really kicked in later on in his life. And like KVG was saying, that what we need to do is dig deep into the origins and be proud of the spiritual nature of our tradition. We shouldn't shy away from it. So, you know, in the UK, we came to the country in 1975, but people settled in the UK earlier. Some of the biggest concerts of Indian classical music started in 1956 when dancers came to the South Bank Centre. Ravi Shankar, Pandit Ravi Shankar, Pandit Ali Akbar Khan came to London. So London is clearly a unique place for Indian classical music and has been celebrated in the UK in a particular way for a long time. And there have been many, many different promoters who have been promoting Indian classical music here in the UK. My journey, my background is actually, I'm an accountant by profession. So maybe with KVG in a similar way, we come from a business background. And my journey switched when my father passed away and I set up Darbar. And after a while, I was doing both. I was sort of doing volunteering, and then I had to just make a decision that do I run Darbar or do I do accounts? And 7 years into running Darbar on a voluntary basis, I decided to give up my accounting profession, and now I'm fully dedicated. And I guess now I try and really push the arts in the UK. So whatever I can do, I try and do that. And in terms of what is our mission? Our mission is really, really simple. We believe that the Indian classical music has the power to stir, thrill, and inspire. And those are the three key words about what we're about. In terms of the Darbar team, we're a very small team. There's only 3 of us, and we have about 4 contractors. So compared to SIFAS, we're really tiny, very small, but I guess what we do is we focus on key things in a particular way. I would say essentially it's just around quality and innovation. It's about bold curation, and it's about removing prejudice, which is a very, very difficult thing. It's about really focusing on emerging artists, but not as a token gesture. It's not that you take emerging artists and put them at the beginning of a concert and then put someone major afterwards. It's really about giving them a platform what we've focused on is really technical delivery. We live here in the West, and one of the challenges is that young people are used to seeing very high quality events, whether it's R&B concerts or other events or theater production. And then suddenly when you go to an Indian event, the production values are very, very poor, and that really switches young people off. So we've focused on that, and now we have a very large young following. And I think KVG was saying, what is your audience like? And in the UK, we have at least a 50% non-Asian audience, which is really, really fantastic, because that's a celebration of diversity in London. And for what we're known for is the Darbar Festival, which is our annual event, but we also make TV programs, and over the years we've produced 75 hour-long programs, which takes the events out of the concerts into the homes of people. And I think that's a very important part of celebrating diversity. We have a YouTube channel which reaches out to millions across the globe. And we've recently launched the Darbar Concert Hall app just before the pandemic, so that was timely. And now we're focusing on the Darbar Academy. And I have to say, where SIFAS is very, very good on the ground in practical terms, we are taking a slightly different approach. We'll be going on online education. And in terms of innovation, we are always looking to see what are young people into. So recently we've launched a number of 8K VR 360 videos. We've been working on ultra high definition for a long time. We try and work with the best venues, and then we try and work with partners like the V&A Museum. So that's a little bit about the organization and what sort of switches us on. And I think in terms of the challenges, I was born in Kenya, so I was brought up here. I studied and worked in the UK, and I guess my first experience of India was when I was 27, so that's really late. So my whole life has been about what is my identity in the UK, and the way I would summarize it is like it's like an onion. So my outside identity is that I'm a Sikh, I wear a turban, I've got a beard, and then if I take away other layers, then you could say that I'm a Sikh. Take that away, then you can say I'm Indian. Take that away, then you can say I'm a British Asian. And then ultimately, by the time you've taken everything away, I am just one of those human spirits that is part of the human species, and I have an identity that I cannot deny, which means that I've been always having to sort of think about my culture and think about how do we fit into the British culture. And recently you will have seen that England has gone through Brexit. We have separated from Europe, and that has opened up massive can of worms with racism, ideas of identity, really, really, really powerful things. So I think those are the challenges, and then trying to preserve your culture in its purity has always been a challenge. But the good thing is in the UK is that we have the Arts Council of England, and they support financially many organizations. So just like we have Darbar, there are about another 10 South Asian organizations right across the country. So between all of us, we are able to celebrate Indian culture. And as a result, there are a lot of students of Indian classical music. And that's why we have so many great musicians in the UK. And I guess our challenge is, how do we keep our culture intact? And I think my answer after trying lots of different things is stick to the purity. Yeah. Do not try and dilute your art form. Do not try and go down the fusion route. Every time we've tried to do that, it's backfired on us. And what we have found is that the more deeper you go into the art form, the more you present it in its purity, the more the audiences connect. Never assume that your audiences want some kind of diluted form of Indian classical music. Never think that they want only a raga for an hour or half an hour, because that's what they can absorb. We now have here in UK where we can have a one rag performed for an hour and a half, or we have a double bill of two 1 hour 45-minute sessions. That's a really long concert for the UK, and no one moves in that concert. So it's about keeping it in its purity. the sad part of it is that we haven't really been able to get much support from the Asian organization. There are a lot of big corporates here. We haven't succeeded somehow in getting any support from them. Whenever you go to the corporates, they want to support Western classical orchestras and stuff like that, which is really, really odd. But these are the challenges that we face. So we've had to become sort of self-sufficient in terms of funding and everything. So I guess, you know, in terms of assimilation into your host country, I would say that you need to create your own narrative. We need to write our own story. We don't need to be told what our art is. We don't need to be told by the West that, you know, this is who you are, this is how your music is. Forget all of that. Throw that in the bin. What we need to do is we need to use almost like the decolonization, stick to our traditions, stick to our purity, you know, stick up for our own thing. We had to say this to someone once because they were saying, why should we include Indian classical music in our events? And my answer was, and this is no disrespect to Western classical tradition, I said, when Mozart was in his nappies, we were already 2000 years defined. So we have a history which is incredibly strong and rich. What it is because it's an oral tradition, we don't know how to present it to a wider audience. KVG rightly said yoga is massive. And why is yoga massive? Because India doesn't own it anymore. It's now owned by the whole of the world, and they've made it into a form, whether you can argue that it's not in its pure form, that it's become a sport, it's become blah, blah, blah. But what they've been able to do is they've been able to take something that we had and do something really amazing with it. The other example I normally give is we have yogurt, we have dahi, yeah, we have it with our Indian food, but we only have so many varieties. The West came along, they've taken yogurt. Now you can get yogurt in any field. You go into the supermarkets, you'll see massive shelves around it. And in a way, KVG is right. We need to look at how do we take Indian art and repackage it and represent it in a way that is downloadable by a much wider audience, because holistically, it is a holistic tradition like yoga, like we have Ayurveda, and Indian music and dance has this amazing ability to heal. Yeah, we've all been through the pandemic, and one of the biggest things about well-being is by accessing our Indian tradition. It's about the holistic nature of what we have. So I think going back to it, we don't need anyone to tell us what our art form is. We need to go to them, but what that needs is a lot of introspection and presenting in that way. Also, one of the things that we have quite unique in Darbar is we do not work to an artistic curation committee. It is just me who curates, and I've told my board that the day I get it wrong, please tell me, then I'll step down. But till then, let me try and do my way. And you know, it doesn't always work, but you know, I try my best. And I guess in terms of interesting stuff, I guess it's the biggest success that we've got is we work with world-class venues only. I'm less than interested in working in school venues. That's no disrespect to school venues or local venues. I only want to work in world-class venues because that is where I think our Indian art needs to be. That's the level we need to be presenting it at, and we need to go mainstream. Some of the big challenges that we have are that our communities that come here do mix and merge with the communities that they live in, whether they're in Singapore, whether they're in America, or whether they're in Europe. But what we find is that the key thing that they're really interested in is Bollywood and Bhangra and weddings. That is their mainstay. Trying to get them to come to our concerts and part with their £50 for a ticket is not so easy. So that made me realize, do not chase the Asian population in your countries. Just go and present your art as it is to everyone. And the more you do that, a wider population of people will come into your events and access this. And there was a question about what's the way forward. I guess, you know, for the pandemic, it's about live and digital. I really like KVG's idea that, you know, global is local and local is global. It's about how do we now connect with different organizations around the world? How do the artistic directors start talking through events like this? How do we connect with them? How do we share what we can do? What is the best practice? So I think that would be that would go a long way. And again, like one of the biggest successes of India is exporting Indian food. In the UK, the English believe that they've invented the curry. And I'm always laughing at that and saying, we don't have a word called curry apart from in Punjabi, we have the yellow curry, which we have with dal, with rice. So I guess, again, it goes back to that very deep aspect to our tradition. It is spiritual. It's beyond religion, like KVG had said. It's about digging deep into our tradition and working out how it touches our soul. And ultimately, if we then take it back into Kirtan, it takes us back onto a spiritual path. And in the Sikh tradition, we have this concept of Seva, Simran, and Kirtan. So it's like a bird flying. So the wings are Seva and Simran. If one of them is out of balance, the birds are not going to fly properly. So you need to do both your prayer and you need to do service. And then to keep the whole bird in balance, I guess it's about doing Kirtan. So those three elements come together in my way of thinking, that it can really elevate your spirit. So not only is it a form of entertainment, but the deeper you reach into it, the deeper and more meaningful it becomes. So I think those are some of the thoughts I've shared with you. Thank you very much for your time. And it's been a real privilege to be here with all of you.
Oh, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you, Sandeep. That was just extraordinary. So much of information, and most of it, I mean, I felt that I was like hearing myself, because obviously you tend to call France as Europe, yes, but we belong more or less to the same continent, and geographically we have the same maybe same composition of public. However, you still have some more Indian population than I have in Nantes city, which is really meager. And I really like the fact that you spoke about this onion skin, because my specialty is cross culture, so I use it a lot, as you can see, in my teaching. And obviously, when you are training or you're taking this Indian heritage forward in a non-Indian context, which is my case too, we obviously have to keep a very good guard on the origin of our, the authenticity of our culture and art, and without diluting it. And so that's the reason I totally agree with you. We have to stick to our tradition. We had the oral tradition. We need so many years of practice and riyaz to come to reach a level, and that's how it is. Because without that, it is not good. That's it. And we do not want the other people to tell us what is our art. I totally agree with you. We don't need to be artistic director or director. We're just being a good Indian who wants to promote Indian culture, knows that what is best for us and how we should send it across. I totally agree with you. And also the fact that we need to put our foot down and say, yes, this is how it is, and this is how we're going to do it. And the people who are going to listen to our concert, who are coming for our concert, are going to enjoy it. And at this point, I would also connect with KV Rao, who said that it's a vicious cycle. It's exactly. I started performing, people started watching Kathak, and little by little, it took me 40 years, yes, but then they interested themselves to understand this dance, the mythology, and mythology does not mean immediately religion. Mythology has so much to do with spirituality, with well-being. So again, it just, little by little, it brought people to be interested in the art and wanting to learn. They even would say in France, we want to earn it the right way. the true way, the original way. These are things which are of value because the French culture also likes authenticity, and that is a reason I could continue to practice my art in the authentic way. So thank you so much, Sandeep, for your insights. And I would now request Dr. Rajshree Vasudevan to present our last speaker, Surinder. And Surinder, we've kept you awake such early times of the morning, so please excuse us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Before I introduce Shri Surinder Chowdhury, I would also like to add here regarding Mr. Sandeep's words. He began by saying that it's a baby organization, but I think they were very wise words that he shared with us. And I absolutely agree with the authenticity part of it, because surprisingly in India also, we have this struggle. People think that in India, everybody is doing the right thing, the most authentic stuff, but it's not really the case. Even here, we have to take the trouble to, distinguish between the chaff and the rest of it. So thank you so much for that, and a lot of meaningful takeaways from what you shared with us. I know, as Dr. Malini said, we have been a little unfair in keeping Shri Surinder Chowdhury up so early. The only consolation is probably it is what is called as Brahma Muhurtam in our tradition. So going on to introducing him, an electronics engineer from the Regional Engineering College, Srinagar. He has a PhD in electronic engineering from Liverpool University, UK. He was attracted to Indian classical music and plays santoor from a very young age. He's a senior executive, semiconductor company, San Francisco Bay Area. He is an enthusiast and aficionado of the arts. He's part of the founding team of Basant Bahar, an organization for the promotion of Hindustani music and dance in the Bay Area. He was the president of Basant Bahar from 1991 to 2000, and again from 2007 to 2011, and he's currently is director. So we are looking forward to your insights, and you have been patiently with us for so long. So thank you so much for being here. Over to you, Shri Surinder Chowdhury.
Thank you very much. And I should say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. I want to thank Dr. Malini Ranganathan for inviting me to take part in this meeting, be part of this distinguished group of people who are doing great work in promoting the precious heritage of Indian classical music and dance. I'm really, highly impressed by previous speakers, Dr. Malini, her team, and Sandeep and Mr. Rao for what they are doing. It's so ambitious compared to what our limited aims were. You see, I lived in England for a while, and I was part of a little musical group there, very interested in Indian classical music from a young age. I started learning tabla. Then I came to the US in 1980, and very quickly tried to connect with people who were part of the Indian classical music scene. It wasn't that big a scene in the South Bay, San Francisco Bay areas, particularly the South Bay where we lived. And it was beginning to get filled up with Indian first generation immigrants. So our really aim was to actually, we enjoy this music. We want to do something for enjoying it ourselves. It wasn't such a big ambition like Mr. Rao and Sandeep have right now. But so we used to host classical music concerts in our homes, and in the early 80s, and it was by invitation only. And then after a while, as the word spread and the numbers grew, we thought that it should be a more formal structure. So I will give you a brief history of Basant Bahar, our musical journey, and how things evolved here in the Bay Area and where things are headed. As I said, we started as an informal group of lovers of Indian classical music in the South Bay. And at some stage, this is in 1982, we felt that we need to give it a formal structure. And some of the early team members, Narayan Sardesai, Arun Londe, and G.S. Satyanarayana, thought that we should create a non-profit organization and have a mission to work on. So they completed all the formalities for creating a non-profit organization, which we call Basant Bahar, which was registered here in the state of California. I may add here an interesting anecdote. Pandit Ravi Shankar, who happened to be in the Bay Area at that time, was told of our intentions to create this organization by Narayan Sardesai, who happened to know Panditji. Panditji was very excited and supportive and gave his blessings. And Srimati Lakshmi Shankar, the well-known vocalist who happened to be in the Bay Area at the time, agreed to sing for our inaugural concert. And it was fitting that she started the concert with Raga Basant Bahar. The mission and the vision of our organization was to provide a platform for exponent of Indian classical music and dance, and to bring before the San Francisco Bay Area audiences and the Indian diaspora this great heritage, as well as to create an ongoing support base for this activity. So we provided a platform for well-known names, as well as up-and-coming performers who showed promise. And right from the beginning, since we understood or thought we understood this music well, so we had a pretty good idea of who were the performers who were true to the spirit of this art, of this music. So there was always a debate of who to choose. There was a lot of musicians coming, always they wanted to perform for us. So we always felt that it's necessary that the musicians should be true to the, should be sincere to this art and true to the spirit of this music. As Sandeep said, we cannot dilute this art form. I mean, this art form is so precious, and we have the precedent set by the great masters, Ustad Amir Khan, Ravi Shankar, Vilayat Khan. I mean, they have this, the music they created is what our music should be. And so the music, the precedent has been set by these great, I call them rishis. These are the rishis who have set the idea of what our music should be. So it's incumbent upon us to choose musicians who support, who are true to the spirit. So the organization has now been in existence for almost 40 years. There's been no interruption in our activities. They are not at a scale which maybe Malini and Sandeep aspire to, but we have continued to provide, we felt it an obligation for us to provide a platform for touring artists. It's their livelihood. So we have to keep going. And, so I feel proud to state that we are probably one of the oldest Indian organizations in the Bay Area. So although in the beginning, the concerts were mainly of Hindustani music, we later also hosted concerts of Kathak. And all the leading performers of Hindustani music and leading Kathak dancers have performed for Basant Bahar. And I'm pleased to state that we have held over 350 concerts over the years. I shouldn't exaggerate. Some of the great names include legends like Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Ustad Vilayat Khan, Pandit Jasraj, Srimati Shobha Gurtu, the Mishra brothers, Ustad Amjad Ali Khan, Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma, Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia, Ajay Chakravarti, Pandit Ulhas Kashalkar, Ustad Rashid Khan, Pandit Buddhaditya Mukherjee, Pandit Sapan Chowdhury, Ustad Zakir San, just to name a few. And in Kathak, we were probably the first the group that had the first concert of Pandit Biju Maharaj in this area. So we have had Biju Maharaj perform for us twice, Biju Maharaj and his team, Chitresh Das, Sunaina Hazari Lal, Manisha Sathe, among others. On a sad note, the great dancer Durga Lal was supposed to perform for us, but for his tragic, untimely death only a week before the scheduled date. Some of these performances have been preserved on video by one of our team, Haider Edina, who meticulously recorded some of them. The recordings are not as great as Sandeep produces at Darbar, but they give you a sense of history and what these great performers were like in their heyday. And they are available on YouTube under the account Basant Bahar. So what is special about our organization that kept us going, that where audiences felt they could come to our concerts? The thing that we have is that most of our concerts are not held in big halls. They're held in, I would say, small to medium halls, where it's possible to create a Baitak-like atmosphere. This setting, we feel, fosters good rapport between the artist and the audience and stimulates the artist to perform at their best. This is the kind of model we have, and that's what we have, basically continued to do. So it's not surprising that artists want to come back again and again to experience the satisfaction of performing for Basant Bahar audiences. The audiences are not huge, but the concerts are satisfying. And we have always tried to establish personal bonds with the artists. Also, we have dispensed with long introductory and concluding speeches. In short, no time-consuming formalities. And also, we start on time, which is unusual for Indian organizations. So how do we run this organization? I mean, this is probably not the best model for running an organization, but this is what we felt we could do and we could live with having all of our other responsibilities in our lives. So it has been volunteer-driven all its life. Typically, 5 or 10 families. It's mostly both spouses, volunteers and their spouses. Nobody gets paid to do anything. In fact, at times, the volunteers contribute and they also make donations to the organization. So the volunteers are involved in every activity that is required to hold the concert. And it's not just the volunteers, but their spouses, as I said, that are involved in these arrangements, which include hosting artists in their homes, finding venues for the concerts, transporting artists, advertising, maintaining website, etc. And there's also usually a post-concert dinner or a potluck to unwind with the artists. This has been our model, and it's not very ambitious, but that's all we could do. So all of this, while the volunteers have to cater to their full-time jobs, careers, and families. Actually, the only way to publicize before the era of the internet was through direct mail. And we used to have to, prepare the flyers, put stamps on them. I remember doing that again and again. It was tough. The budgets were limited, and we relied entirely on ticket sales, and later on, as now, on membership as well. We never sought help from the local government or help of major donors. Somehow we managed to, do without that. We did get some donations, but not major donations. The only interaction that we had with government agencies, that is the Indian government, was kind of indirect. in that during the 80s and the 90s, the Indian government, through the Ministry of Culture, I think it's called ICCR, subsidized travel of some of the artists for their concert tours inside the US. This was coordinated by Dr. Balwant Dixit at the University of Pennsylvania. During these tours, the artists also performed at various universities. One could say that we benefited from this support, and it also helped promote the music. How have we managed to continue this work for so many years? This is something that even I ask myself. The answer is, it is not easy. It was not easy. Over the years, most of the founding team and many volunteers left for various personal reasons, but a core group of the initial team stayed with the organization. These were the anchors that were determined to keep the organization going. It was a mission for them to not let the organization die. And I'm pleased to state that I am one of those. I'm still going. I don't know how long for, but I'm still going on and trying to fulfill this mission. The thing is, for the organizers, there is no pause, no respite from the organizing activity. It's not their full-time job. Once a concert ends, there's always the next concert to organize and make arrangements once again. It's simply the love and the responsibility for promoting this very precious heritage that has kept this thing going. The only pause has been during these 2 years of the pandemic. What has been our audience composition? As I mentioned earlier, our audiences have predominantly been the Indian diaspora, the first generation immigrants. The non-Indian audience has never been more than 10%. I would say less than that. We, as an organization, did not make any particular effort to target non-Indian audiences. That we felt would require, to go all out to do that would require resources, both financial and human, that we did not have. And I think it would be an order of magnitude higher effort. Just organizing a concert month after month took most of our energies. So we have always stayed within the realms of the possible. You could say that we were not very ambitious, but with all our other responsibilities, people were not doing this as a full-time activity. So this is all we could do. Actually, most of the work we have non-Indian audiences. They're not huge. The Bay Area is a large area. There are people in the North Bay, South Bay. For them to come to our concerts is not always practical. So, and most of the work in popularizing Indian music, one could say the heavy lifting had already been done through the pioneering efforts of legends like Pandit Ravi Shankar, Pandit Nikhil Banerjee, Ustad Ali Akbar Khan, and others, and through exposure of wider audiences to Indian music at colleges and universities across the US, as well as the Ali Akbar College of Music in this area. This, this may not be true for other countries, but over here, there is some exposure. There is a lot of exposure. US is a very big country, and there's a lot of exposure of Indian music to non-Indian audiences. And so, as I said, we relied mostly on the Indian diaspora. But as it has become easier to advertise through the social media, we do now have a wider reach to non-Indian audiences through a big database of our own to reach them. Malini ji had asked me if we have any special inputs about assimilation into the host country's culture. On this subject, I would say that the Bay Area itself is a very cosmopolitan place. And it's rather difficult to define what the host culture is. Most of the adults living here are immigrants, both Indian and non-Indians. So it's not something specific that we have to do to assimilate. This place is a melting pot. Assimilation is already happening within and outside the arena of music. So what's the current situation as far as our organization is concerned? The first generation Indian origin immigrants that form the bulk of our audience is now getting old. And the numbers of this segment of our audience are also beginning to go down. We have not yet seen a corresponding increase in the number of regular younger audiences at our concerts. This is a concern. This does not imply that the younger generation is not interested in classical music. I think it's just harder to drag them from universities and colleges to attend our concerts. So it's a challenge to us as an organization. The other challenge that we face is that with the advent of social media, it has now become easier to advertise and do one-off concerts by individuals or small groups of people who have a rather parochial aims, in that a Maharashtrian little group will do a concert for a Maharashtrian artist, or a Bengali group will do the same kind of thing, and they'll do maybe one concert a year, so, or one or two. We instead do about 9 or 10. So this, and sometimes the dates are conflicting, it's happening the same date. Most of the concerts take place on weekends, and there are only some specific weekends which are most optimum for doing the concerts, and then there's a conflict. So we have been living with these conflicts all the time. So the audiences sometimes are, diminished, sometimes they're not. So there is no one overarching group that conducts concerts in the Bay Area. So this is also, one of the problems. Now, what is the future of Indian music and dance in the US and the West? I think the outlook for Indian music and dance in the West, particularly in places where there's a sizable Indian diaspora, is very bright. The interest in learning Indian music and dance among the second and third generation is, I think, at an all-time high. And this is encouraging. Whether that translates into well-attended concerts in this age of distraction, social media, remains to be seen. A lot of young people, both of Indian origin and others, are learning music from touring musicians, and also through online classes that have now become popular during this past 2 years of the pandemic. There are also musicians who visit several times, or who have been visiting several times a year, specifically to teach their growing number of students. So as I said, it remains to be seen whether that translates into big audiences, but there is interest in learning this music. In our area, there are also multiple Kathak and Bharatnatyam schools headed by professional dancers. Most of these schools are doing very well. As Sandeep said, and the future of concert activity itself may be undergoing a change. The future could be digital, we don't know. And during this pandemic, people have come up with innovative solutions to conduct concerts. Now, concerts are recorded anywhere in the world as high-quality videos and then made available to organizations or ticket-paying audiences who can watch them anytime. In fact, we supported a couple of such organizations in India that recorded concerts by multiple artists over a period of several weeks. So it remains how this is going to affect the future of live concerts. But in my opinion, these cannot replace the experience of live concerts. And we are looking forward to resuming our activities as the pandemic ends. Thank you. This is what I had to say.
Thank you. Dr. Rajshree, probably you wanted to say something?
Yes, I did. I was listening very intently to Mr. Surinder's kind of summing up of what the experience has been. And I think Dr. Malini will agree, having performed in the Bay Area, though it was several years ago, we could see that there was a kind of a mixture of people who wanted authentic stuff. At the same time, there were so many groups vying for attention, so to say. But when we gave good stuff, we got good audiences. That is something that we have really learned over the years. That is something that both my guru, Dr. Padma, and Dr. Malini's guru, Roshan Didi, both of them have insisted on that. You know, they say, you give good stuff, you get good audiences. But I think the challenge also lies there, because for giving good stuff, it cannot just come out of the hat. It requires several years of sadhana and riyaz, and the top artists at certain points in time, they are also interested in probably, I wouldn't say dictating certain conditions, but insisting on a certain kind of a performance format and a certain kind of a crowd, etc. So as far as our organization is concerned, that is Center of Excellence Art and Culture, we have faced similar problems in the sense that it's a very young department. It's only about 3 years old. And it is a part of a college called as Shasun Jain College for Women in Chennai. And because of the dynamic approach of our secretary, Shri Jain, we were able to get the recognition from the National Skill Development Council, Media and Entertainment Skills Council of Government of India. But what is surprising, I would like to share here, is that there are quite a few centers of excellence across the country, but we are the only one for art and culture. And the reason for that, according to the officials in MESC, is that for setting up such a kind of a center and to keep it, to sustain it, to keep it running, and to also do the kind of outreach that is necessary to create that interest among the youngsters is not easy. As one of the speakers mentioned, the distractions are umpteen, and to get them to focus on something as deep, as significant as Indian art and culture is becoming a little difficult. So we are kind of trying to balance two things. One is to give authentic stuff, which is very deep, and at the same time to cater to the needs of changing tastes of the younger generation. So we are probably the same boat as all of you, and unlike Mr. Sandeep, I think I would take on that mantle of being the baby in the group, because we are only about 3.5 years old. But we understand the challenges that you have all been facing, because even to get our students to attend something like this, because they understand the significance, yes, but they are caught between their exams, the academic courses, the other courses that they undergo for getting their extra qualifications, and of course the distraction which comes through social media. So I think our problems are more or less the same at different levels, but it has been a great learning experience for us, because it's a kind of it's comforting for us that the stalwarts in the field have gone through all this, and they have managed to stay afloat with a lot of innovative ideas, with a lot of hard work. So it's very inspiring for us. And I really would take that opportunity to thank all of you for sharing your insights, more than anything for making your time, because each one of you is in a different time zone. And our apologies for having disturbed you at very odd hours, but the pleasure has been entirely ours. So that was just a few words that I wanted to share, and we will be very, very happy to collaborate with any of the organizations for taking your vision and mission forward. So over to Dr. Malini in case she wishes to say something. Otherwise, we will have.
just want to thank, I know that there will be an official vote of thanks, but I personally want to thank each and every one of you to have accepted this invitation and to have really spoken with your own experience, and the guidance that you're giving is so different, but commonly looking at the same objective and goal, which is providing a platform for our ancient cultural heritage in the best way without diluting it. That is what we are all looking at. Just would like to tell you the 2 words about Bindi, which I totally forgot, which is also not a very big organization, a small one, maybe a little older because we exist from 1996. But what is very interesting, contrary to the 3 of you who have basically Indian population, or at least originally my immigrated population, I have no Indians at all. And so my students are French, my dancers are French, my audience is French, and everything is French. So this makes the whole thing, I would say, was initially extremely difficult, but probably I was in one way fortunate because I created something new, and that is they look for quality. And we say, as Dr. Rajshree said, when you look for authenticity and do something authentic, I have to salute my Guruji, Roshan Kumari ji, Padma Bhushan of Jaipur Gharana, who always said, kuch bhi bolne do, tum apna kaam achhi tarah se karna. So this is what I would like to do, and I continue to do it, and I'm blessed to have such extraordinary guidance from big Gurujis and Padmas, and Subramaniam ji, who came on the first day, has also blessed me. So I think I'm already excited about what's going to happen, what we're going to do together. We had tried our best to work hard in Nantes, and we did the Namaste France Festival in 2016, which was a big success, which a very small city of Nantes has managed to get about 7 to 10,000 people as audience, which is extraordinary. We never imagined it. And you should not forget, we are the hometown of Jules Verne, who went across the world, and I'm bringing the world back to him, at least my part of the world, which is India. So I thank you so much for all of your speeches and the guidance. I will not retain you further. I'm going to ask Dr. Rajshree to move on to the vote of thanks. I think it's Kirtana. Thank you very much.
No, I think the vote of thanks will be proposed by our staff, Srimati Shri Vidya, and we will also have a feedback form which we will be posting. We hope to get some inputs from those present so that we can make our sessions as interesting as it has been today. Over to you, Mrs. Shri Vidya. Thank you so much.
To repay a good gratitude is the essence of our culture. With this quote, we, the Center of Excellence Art and Culture, Sri Shankarlal Sundarbai Shasun Jain College, Chennai, and Bindi Center for Art and Culture, France, thank all the hands joining with us for this second session of International Webinar ABC series on the occasion of Amrit Mahotsav 75. It's a great privilege for us to thank His Excellency Shri Jawad Ashraf, Ambassador of India to France and Monaco, for his sustained support. Thank you, sir. We extend our thanks to Shri Naman Ubatia, Embassy of India in Paris, France, for the smooth coordination with us for this series. Thank you, sir. Our deep sense of gratitude to the guest speakers, Shri K.V. Rao, Shri Sandeep Verdi Obe, and Shri Surinder Chowdhury, for sharing their valuable thoughts. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Thank you, sirs. Our respectful thanks to Shri Abhayashri Shimal Jain ji, Secretary, Shri Shankarlal Sundarbai Shasun Jain College for Women, and our Associate Secretary Shri Ashok Kumar Mehta ji, Principal Dr. S. Padmavati, and Vice Principal Dr. S. Rukmani for giving us this opportunity. Our heartfelt thanks to our official partners, ICCR, Ministry of External Affairs, and Ministry of Culture. Our deep sense of gratitude to Mayor of Nantes, Dr. Dennis Rostang, President Bindi, Dr. Malini Ranganathan, Artistic Director Bindi, France, and Dr. Rajshree Vasudevan, Director, Center of Excellence Art and Culture, Shasun Jain College, Chennai, staff and students of Shasun Jain College and Bindi Center of Arts and Culture. Thankful to all the participants join with us. Thank the Almighty for blessing us with a successful event. Thank you.
So we come to the close of this session. I was told that Mr. Rao wanted to have some discussion. So we will be having that after the other participants exit the meet. So kindly stay.